Strength is often thought of in physical terms, the ability to endure, to push forward, to dominate obstacles with sheer force. But true strength is not found in muscle, but in the mind, the ability to remain unshaken in the face of adversity, to push forward despite self-doubt, to endure discomfort, and to train oneself to keep going even when everything inside screams to stop. This is what separates the ordinary from the exceptional. Mental strength is not something you are born with. It is something you cultivate, something you build through repetition, through hardship, through intentional effort. The most resilient minds in history were not naturally immune to fear, failure, or self-doubt. They trained themselves to think differently. They rewired their responses to pain, rejection, and adversity. They made the decision again and again to keep moving forward. Buddha once said, "What we think, we become." He understood that the human mind is not static. It is shaped by repeated thoughts and habits. If your thoughts are weak, your actions will be weak. If your mind is controlled by fear, you will live in hesitation. But if you train your mind, if you make discipline, resilience, and focus your default state, there is nothing you cannot endure, nothing you cannot achieve. Mental toughness is not about ignoring pain. It is about mastering your response to it. It is about seeing hardship as fuel, struggle as an opportunity, setbacks as stepping stones. It is about becoming the kind of person who does not crumble under pressure, but sharpens in the fire of adversity. This episode is about transformation, not through motivation, not through fleeting inspiration, but through the kind of mental training that rewires the way you think, act, and respond to challenges. You will learn how to build unshakable self-belief, reframe negativity, master discipline, and develop the kind of resilience that makes you unstoppable. Because in the end, the world does not break the strong, it only reveals them. And strength is not given, it is built. Your mind is the command center of your life. Every action, every decision, every belief about what is possible begins in thought. If your mindset is weak, your results will reflect that weakness. But if your mind is trained, disciplined, and conditioned for resilience, no challenge will be too great, no setback too permanent. Mental strength is not just about enduring hardship, it is about shaping the way you interpret every experience, every failure, every moment of doubt. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus understood this deeply. He said that people are not disturbed by events themselves, but by the way they choose to see them. A failure is not failure unless the mind labels it as such. A setback is only final if you decide to stop. The disciplined mind does not react impulsively to circumstances. It sees, it interprets, it adjusts. This ability to shift perspective, to control interpretation, is the foundation of true mental strength. Modern neuroscience confirms what the Stoics already knew. The brain is not fixed. It rewires itself constantly. Every thought strengthens certain neural pathways while weakening others. If the mind is conditioned to expect failure, it will seek out proof of it in every challenge. If it is trained to focus on solutions, to interpret difficulty as growth, then resilience becomes automatic. This is why elite athletes, military leaders, and world-class performers all train their minds before anything else. The body follows where the mind leads. But reprogramming thought patterns is not passive. It is intentional. It begins with awareness, catching the moments when negativity takes over and challenging them. When the mind says, "I can't," interrupt it with, "What if I can?" When doubt creeps in, replace it with, "I will find a way." Language matters. The words spoken internally shape perception, and perception shapes reality. The ancient samurai knew this well. They practiced katsujinkan, the life-giving sword, not just as a technique for combat, but as a philosophy for life. They trained their minds to be unshaken by fear, to see death as inevitable so they could fight without hesitation, to accept every possible outcome so that no circumstance could control them. Their strength was not just in their skill with a sword, but in the way they saw the world. The mind can be trained in the same way. Challenge negative assumptions. Replace hesitation with certainty. Visualize success not as a vague hope, but as an expectation. The moment the mind is conditioned for resilience, the body and actions will follow. Strength does not begin in the muscles, it begins in thought. And once the mind is mastered, everything else falls into place. Confidence is not something you are born with, it is something you build. It is not a gift given to a select few, but a skill developed through repeated action, deliberate thought, and a refusal to let failure define you. The mistake most people make is thinking that confidence is a feeling, something that must be present before they take action. But the truth is, confidence does not come first. Action comes first. You do not wait to feel ready. You act despite uncertainty. You take steps before the fear disappears. And in doing so, confidence is built layer by layer, through experience, through proof, through the undeniable realization that you are more capable than you once believed. The philosopher Aristotle understood this well. He taught that we become what we repeatedly do. A person does not become brave by thinking about courage. They become brave by facing what they fear again and again, until courage is no longer something they need to summon. It simply becomes who they are. Confidence works the same way. It is not something granted by external validation or effortless success. It is something earned through struggle, through perseverance, through the quiet moments when no one is watching, yet you choose to push forward anyway. Psychologists call this the self-efficacy loop. The more you prove to yourself that you can handle challenges, the stronger your belief in your own ability becomes. This is why those who take action, even when afraid, develop unshakable self-belief over time. It is not because they were fearless, it is because they acted despite the fear, and in doing so, rewired their brain to see themselves as capable, as strong, as unstoppable. But confidence is not built only through action, it is also shaped by the way you speak to yourself. The mind believes what it hears most often. If your internal dialogue is filled with self-doubt, with hesitation, with words that weaken rather than strengthen, then confidence will always feel out of reach. The way you talk to yourself is either the greatest weapon or the greatest weakness. Replace doubt with certainty. Replace hesitation with decisive language. Instead of saying, "I hope I can," say, "I will." Instead of, "I'm not good enough," say, "I am improving every single day." Words are not just sounds, they are instructions to the mind. And then there is reflection. Confidence is not just about looking forward, it is also about remembering how far you have come. Every time you overcame something you once thought was impossible, every moment of growth, every small victory, it all adds up. Most people dwell on their failures, but the disciplined mind remembers its successes. When doubt creeps in, remind yourself of every obstacle you have already conquered. There is proof in your past that you are capable. Use it. Aristotle taught that confidence is built through action. Psychology proves that belief strengthens with experience. The strongest minds know that self-talk shapes reality. Their lesson is clear. Confidence is not a feeling, it is a decision. It is a choice made in every moment, with every action, with every word spoken internally. And once you decide to believe in yourself, the world has no choice but to follow. Hardship is unavoidable. No one moves through life without failure, without setbacks, without moments where everything seems to fall apart. But the difference between those who rise and those who remain stuck is not in what happens to them, it is in how they choose to see it. Mental strength is not about avoiding struggle, it is about reframing it, seeing obstacles not as roadblocks but as stepping stones. Every challenge carries within it the potential for growth, but only for those who train themselves to look beyond the difficulty and recognize the lesson hidden inside. Seneca, the Roman Stoic, believed that suffering is often self-inflicted, not because pain is not real, but because the mind magnifies it when it resists reality. He wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." To him, struggle was not something to fear, it was something to be embraced, used and turned into an advantage. The strongest individuals are not those who avoid hardship, but those who reframe it, extract its value, and use it as fuel. Modern psychology supports this. Cognitive reframing is a proven mental strategy where the brain is trained to see challenges differently. A failure can either mean, "I'm not good enough," or it can mean, "This is where I need to improve." A rejection can either be, "I'm worthless," or it can be, "This wasn't meant for me, and something better is coming." The meaning given to an event determines its power over you. The mentally weak see struggle as a reason to stop. The mentally strong see it as proof they are growing. The Japanese philosophy of kintsugi teaches a similar lesson. When a piece of pottery breaks, instead of discarding it, the cracks are filled with gold, making the object more valuable than before. The flaws are not hidden, they are highlighted, embraced, turned into part of the story. This is how the strongest minds operate. They do not erase their failures. They use them, they learn from them, they wear them as proof of resilience. To develop this mindset, practice 3 things. First, when difficulty strikes, pause before reacting. Train yourself to ask, "What is this teaching me?" instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" Second, rewrite the story. Replace the victim narrative with one of strength. Instead of thinking, "This is proof I'm not capable," tell yourself, "This is proof I'm in the process of becoming stronger." And third, collect your lessons. Every time you overcome something, document it. Write it down. Remind yourself. Build undeniable proof that you have faced challenges before and emerged better. Seneca saw struggle as a sharpening stone for the mind. Psychology proves that reframing challenges transforms how they are experienced. The art of kintsugi shows that what is broken is not worthless. It is valuable because it endured. Their lesson is clear. What happens to you does not define you. How you interpret it does. The mind can turn obstacles into burdens or into stepping stones. The choice is always yours. Discipline is the bridge between goals and achievement, between potential and reality. It is the ability to do what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel in the moment. Most people wait for motivation, for inspiration, for the perfect conditions. But the mentally strong do not rely on feelings to dictate their actions. They act because they have trained themselves to do so. They understand that success is not built in moments of excitement, but in the quiet, repetitive commitment to discipline, even when it is inconvenient, even when it is exhausting. Musonius Rufus, one of the lesser-known Stoic philosophers, saw discipline as the foundation of a good life. He argued that self-control was not just a virtue, but a necessity, that a person who could not master their own impulses, their own desires, their own momentary distractions, would always be at the mercy of the world. To him, Discipline was not about deprivation. It was about freedom, the freedom to act with intention rather than being controlled by fleeting emotions. Modern science confirms this. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for self-discipline, strengthens like a muscle through repeated use. Every time you choose to follow through on a commitment instead of giving in to distraction, you reinforce that habit. Every time you take action despite discomfort, you make it easier to do so the next time. This is why those who practice discipline do not need to rely on motivation. They have built systems that make action automatic. But mastering discipline is not about overwhelming effort. It is about consistency over time. Bruce Lee embodied this principle when he said, "I do not fear the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times." Mastery is not about occasional effort. It is about repetition, about showing up daily, about training the mind to do the hard things until they become second nature. To develop unshakable self-discipline, focus on 3 key principles. First, remove negotiation. Do not give yourself the option to skip what is necessary. If a task aligns with your goals, it is non-negotiable. Second, lower the activation energy. If something feels overwhelming, break it down. Start small, build momentum, and let discipline take over. Third, create identity-based habits. Stop thinking of discipline as something you do, and start seeing it as part of who you are. Instead of saying, "I should work harder," say, "I am the kind of person who follows through." Your identity drives your actions. Musonius Rufus saw discipline as the foundation of self-mastery. Neuroscience proves that discipline, like a muscle, strengthens with practice. Bruce Lee showed that excellence is built not through effort alone, but through repetition, through consistency, through the decision to show up even when it is difficult. Their lesson is clear. Discipline is not about feeling ready. It is about acting anyway. The mentally strong do not wait for motivation. They train themselves to move forward regardless of it. Emotions are powerful. They can push you forward or pull you under, fuel your ambition or cloud your judgment. Those who are mentally weak let their emotions dictate their actions. When they are motivated, they work hard. When they are frustrated, they quit. But those who master their minds understand that emotions are not commands. They are simply signals. They recognize that emotional control is not about suppressing feelings, but about managing them, using them wisely, and ensuring that logic remains stronger than impulse. The Stoic philosopher Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, saw emotional discipline as the key to inner peace. He taught that external events do not disturb us, our reactions to them do. A setback does not create frustration. It is the interpretation of that setback that does. An insult does not create anger. It is the meaning assigned to those words that does. Those who master their emotions do not deny what they feel, but they choose how to respond rather than being controlled by their initial reaction. Modern psychology supports this. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, one of the most effective mental training methods, is built on this idea that emotions follow thoughts, and by changing the way we think, we change the way we feel. A person who panics in stressful situations has trained their mind to associate challenge with fear. But a person who remains calm has conditioned themselves to interpret difficulty as something manageable. The difference is not in the event, it is in the mind. But emotional control is not about becoming indifferent. It is about learning to channel emotions effectively. Miyamoto Musashi, the legendary samurai, believed that the warrior's strength came not from the absence of emotion, but from the ability to use emotion without being consumed by it. Fear can sharpen awareness. Anger can fuel determination. Frustration can spark improvement. The mentally strong do not fight their emotions. They train them, guide them, and transform them into power. To develop emotional discipline, practice 3 things. First, create space before reacting. When an emotion rises, do not act immediately. Pause, breathe, and let the initial intensity fade before deciding how to respond. Second, reframe emotional triggers. Instead of seeing stress as a problem, see it as a challenge. Instead of viewing failure as a personal attack, view it as a lesson. Third, train your default response to difficulty. When pressure builds, condition yourself to think, "This is an opportunity to grow." Over time, this automatic reaction will become instinct. Zeno taught that emotional control determines inner peace. Psychology proves that thoughts shape feelings. Musashi demonstrated that true strength comes not from avoiding emotion, but from mastering it. Their lesson is clear. The mentally strong do not react. They respond. They do not suppress emotions. They train them. And they do not let temporary feelings dictate permanent outcomes. The mind must remain in command, because the moment emotions take over, control is lost. The mind is not fixed. Intelligence, skill, resilience, none of these are static traits. They are shaped, strengthened, and expanded through effort, through failure, through the simple act of pushing beyond what is comfortable. Those who are mentally weak believe that ability is predetermined, that failure is a sign to stop, that struggle is proof of limitation. But those who understand the nature of growth know that the mind, like a muscle, strengthens when it is challenged. The philosopher Heraclitus observed that everything is in constant flux, that nothing remains the same. He believed that just as a river is never the same twice, neither is the mind. It is always evolving, always adapting. Those who embrace this truth see failure not as proof of their limits, but as evidence that they are in the process of growth. They do not fear mistakes, they expect them. They do not retreat when things become difficult. They recognize that difficulty is the price of expansion. Modern psychology calls this a growth mindset, the belief that abilities can be developed through effort and persistence. Carol Dweck, a leading researcher in this field, found that people who see intelligence and skill as flexible are far more likely to succeed than those who believe their abilities are fixed. The difference is not in talent, it is in perspective. Those with a fixed mindset avoid challenges because they fear failure. Those with a growth mindset seek out challenges because they know that struggle is where transformation happens. But fostering this mindset requires intentional training. Failure must be reframed as learning, struggle must be seen as progress, and setbacks must be understood as temporary. Leonardo da Vinci, one of the greatest minds in history, was not born a genius. He was relentless in his curiosity, obsessed with improvement, willing to fail repeatedly in the pursuit of mastery. He sketched thousands of drawings before perfecting his art. He studied human anatomy in painstaking detail, dissecting bodies not out of obligation, but out of an insatiable hunger to learn. His brilliance was not given to him. He built it through years of effort, through trial and error, through a mindset that refused to accept limits. To develop a growth mindset, practice 3 things. First, change your internal dialogue. Instead of saying, "I can't do this," say, "I can't do this yet." Instead of thinking, "I'm bad at this," say, "I'm in the process of learning." Second, normalize failure. See it as a necessary step, not as an identity. The most successful people have failed more times than most have even tried. Third, expose yourself to discomfort. Growth does not happen inside comfort zones. The mind must be stretched, tested, and forced to adapt. Heraclitus taught that everything is in motion, nothing remains the same. Science proves that the brain is capable of endless adaptation. Da Vinci showed that mastery is not about talent, but about relentless learning. Their lesson is clear. Mental strength is not something you are born with. It is something you build. And those who believe they can grow are the ones who actually do. Success is not about massive leaps forward. It is not about sudden breakthroughs or moments of inspiration that change everything overnight. It is about consistency, the ability to show up day after day, regardless of how you feel. The mentally weak chase quick results, relying on motivation that fades the moment things become difficult. But those who are truly strong understand that progress is not about intensity, it is about persistence. The philosopher Aristotle believed that excellence was not a single act, but a habit. He wrote, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. The strongest minds do not rely on bursts of effort. They build systems, routines, and disciplines that ensure progress happens even on the days when they do not feel like it. They do not wait for motivation. They train themselves to move forward regardless of it. Neuroscience confirms this. The brain thrives on consistency. Every repeated action strengthens neural pathways, making habits automatic. This is why the greatest athletes, artists, and thinkers do not simply work hard, they work hard every day. Leonardo da Vinci's genius was not the result of occasional inspiration, but of years of disciplined practice. Kobe Bryant's legendary skill was built not on talent alone, but on relentless repetition, on showing up at the gym at 4 a.m. while others slept. But consistency does not mean perfection. The mistake most people make is believing that missing one day, failing once, or struggling momentarily means they have lost all progress. The strongest minds know that what matters is not never failing, but always coming back. The rule they follow is simple: never miss twice. One bad day means nothing if you start again the next. One setback is insignificant if you refuse to let it become a pattern. To make consistency effortless, follow 3 principles. First, lower the barrier to action. Make starting so easy that it is impossible to justify not doing it. If writing a book feels overwhelming, commit to writing just 1 sentence. If building a fitness habit seems difficult, start with 5 minutes. Small actions lead to momentum. Second, track progress visibly. Whether it is a journal, a calendar, or a checklist, seeing progress reinforces commitment. Third, tie discipline to identity. Instead of saying, "I want to be consistent," say, "I am the type of person who never quits." When consistency becomes part of who you are, it no longer feels like effort. It feels like the only way to live. Aristotle taught that excellence is not a single act, but a habit. Neuroscience proves that repeated action rewires the brain. History's greatest minds, from Da Vinci to Kobe Bryant, show that mastery is not about bursts of effort, but about persistence. Their lesson is clear. It is not the intensity of your effort that defines your success. It is your ability to keep going, even when no one is watching, even when progress seems slow. The mentally strong do not rely on motivation. They rely on discipline, on identity, on the simple, undeniable power of showing up. No one becomes great alone. The strongest minds in history did not develop their wisdom in isolation. They learned from those who came before them, from mentors, from books, from experiences that shaped their thinking. Mental strength is not just about individual willpower. It is about seeking wisdom, absorbing knowledge, and accelerating growth by learning from others. Those who believe they must figure out everything on their own waste years, repeating mistakes that could have been avoided with the right guidance. The wise do not make that mistake. The philosopher Seneca understood this deeply. He wrote, "We learn not in school, but in life." To him, real knowledge did not come from theory alone. It came from observing those who had already walked the path, from studying their decisions, from applying their insights. Those who are mentally strong do not see wisdom as something they must create from scratch. They see it as something they can collect, refine, and apply. They seek out great minds, past and present, to shape their own thinking. Neuroscience supports this idea. The brain learns fastest through modeling, by observing, absorbing, and replicating the behaviors of those who have already succeeded. This is why mentorship is one of the most powerful shortcuts to success. A mentor is not just a teacher. They are a mirror, showing you what is possible, guiding you away from the pitfalls they once faced. Every great leader, from ancient philosophers to modern visionaries, has had mentors. Alexander the Great had Aristotle. Marcus Aurelius had Rusticus. Warren Buffett had Benjamin Graham. Even the best minds seek guidance, but learning from others is not just about direct mentorship. It is about constant exposure to new ideas. Books are mentors in written form. Conversations with the right people can reshape thinking in a single moment. Exposure to different perspectives forces growth. The mind, like a muscle, grows when it is stretched, challenged, and pushed beyond its current understanding. To accelerate your own mental strength, apply 3 key principles. First, seek out mentors, whether in person or through books. If someone has achieved what you desire, study them, understand their mindset, absorb their lessons. Second, surround yourself with people who elevate your thinking. The mind adapts to its environment. Choose to be in spaces where intelligence, discipline, and ambition are the norm. Third, remain a lifelong student. The moment you believe you know everything is the moment growth stops. Stay curious, stay open, keep learning. Seneca believed that wisdom comes from life, not just books. Neuroscience proves that the brain learns fastest through modeling. History's greatest minds all sought mentorship and guidance. Their lesson is clear. Mental strength is not built in isolation. It is built through knowledge, through learning, through exposing yourself to those who have already mastered what you seek. The fastest way to grow is not to struggle alone. It is to stand on the shoulders of giants. Adversity is not an obstacle. It is a test. The world does not break the mentally strong. It reveals them. Those who crumble under pressure, who retreat in the face of failure, who allow setbacks to define them, they have not yet trained their minds for resilience. But those who understand that hardship is part of the process, that growth comes from struggle, that strength is not built in comfort, but in challenge, these are the ones who rise. The philosopher Epictetus, born into slavery and later rising to become one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, knew this truth better than most. He believed that life is not about avoiding suffering, but about mastering the way we respond to it. He taught that while we may not control external events, we always control our reactions. To him, resilience was not about wishing for easier circumstances. It was about becoming stronger so that no circumstance could shake the mind. Modern psychology confirms this. Studies on resilience show that those who thrive after setbacks do not possess more luck or fewer challenges. They simply interpret struggle differently. Instead of seeing failure as defeat, they see it as feedback. Instead of believing that hardship is permanent, they remind themselves that all pain is temporary. The brain, through a process called stress inoculation, adapts to difficulty over time. The more challenges you face and overcome, the stronger you become. But resilience is not just about enduring hardship. It is about using it. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison, yet emerged stronger, not weaker. Viktor Frankl, who survived the horrors of concentration camps, found meaning even in suffering. These men, like all those who develop mental resilience, refused to let hardship define them. They saw pain as transformation. They used suffering as fuel. To develop this mindset, practice three things. First, shift your perception of struggle. See it as preparation, not punishment. Every difficulty strengthens the mind. Second, train yourself to embrace discomfort deliberately. The bodybuilders of the mind are those who expose themselves to small challenges daily, pushing through resistance, training themselves to be comfortable with discomfort. Third, build a mental archive of past victories. Whenever doubt arises, remind yourself of every hardship you have already endured. If you survived before, you can survive again. Epictetus believed that resilience is the mastery of response. Psychology proves that the mind adapts to challenge, making strength a learned trait. History shows that those who endure the hardest trials often emerge the strongest. Their lesson is clear. Mental resilience is not a gift, it is a decision. It is built in the moments when you refuse to quit, when you turn pain into wisdom, when you stand back up every time the world knocks you down. The mentally strong do not break, they sharpen. Growth is not immediate. Strength is not built in an instant. Every skill, every achievement, every transformation requires time, patience, and the discipline to endure the slow process of improvement. The mentally weak crave instant results. They expect success to arrive quickly, and when it doesn't, they lose focus, they give up, they move on to something easier. But those who are truly strong understand that greatness is not about speed, it is about endurance. Lao Tzu, the ancient Chinese philosopher, wrote, "Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. The strongest trees do not grow overnight. They take years to develop deep roots, to stand firm against the wind, to reach their full height." The same is true for the mind. A person who lacks patience in their own growth will never achieve mastery. They will always abandon the path the moment progress slows. But those who embrace patience, who understand that persistence is the key to transformation, will develop the kind of strength that cannot be rushed. Modern psychology confirms this. Studies on delayed gratification show that those who resist short-term rewards in favor of long-term success achieve more, earn more, and build greater self-discipline. This is known as the marshmallow test, where children who resisted eating a marshmallow immediately in exchange for a bigger reward later were found to be significantly more successful later in life. The ability to wait, to endure, to trust the process is one of the greatest indicators of long-term success. But patience is not passive, it is active. Leonardo da Vinci spent years perfecting his paintings. Michelangelo spent decades sculpting. Olympic athletes spend a lifetime training. They did not demand immediate results. They trusted that every hour, every repetition, every setback was shaping them. The strongest minds do not rush progress. They commit to it, knowing that time is the ultimate multiplier. To cultivate patience in personal growth, follow three key principles. First, measure progress in years, not days. Small improvements accumulate over time. Second, Detach from the obsession with immediate results. Focus on the work, not just the outcome. Third, embrace the slow grind. The best things in life take time. Mastery, wisdom, strength. All of it is built through steady, deliberate effort. Lao Tzu taught that nature never rushes, yet everything is accomplished. Psychology proves that patience is the key to long-term success. History shows that the greatest minds did not demand speed, they demanded excellence. Their lesson is clear: the mentally strong do not chase quick results. They commit to the long path, knowing that true success is not about how fast you grow, but about how deeply you root yourself in the process. The mind is constantly pulled in different directions, by distractions, by expectations, by worries about the past and fears of the future. Those who lack inner peace live in a state of mental chaos, always searching for something outside themselves to bring them calm. But the mentally strong understand that peace is not found externally. It is cultivated internally. It is not about escaping difficulty, but about mastering the ability to remain centered no matter what happens around them. The philosopher Marcus Aurelius, who ruled an empire in times of war and uncertainty, understood this deeply. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." To him, control over external circumstances was an illusion. The only true power was the ability to master one's own reactions, to remain steady in the face of turbulence. Those who develop this skill become unshaken by stress, immune to petty distractions, and free from the emotional storms that consume others. Modern neuroscience confirms what the Stoics knew centuries ago. Studies on mindfulness and meditation show that those who practice mental stillness experience reduced stress, improved focus, and greater emotional stability. The brain, when trained to remain present, stops reacting to every external stimulus. It learns to observe rather than be controlled, to acknowledge rather than be overwhelmed. This is why the mentally strong do not allow themselves to be thrown off course by every inconvenience, every criticism, every unexpected challenge. They stay composed because they have trained their minds to be a place of refuge, not a battleground. But inner peace does not mean detachment from life. It means engagement with clarity. Lao Tzu, the ancient Chinese philosopher, described peace as being like water, fluid, adaptable, yet strong. Water does not resist obstacles. It flows around them, shaping them over time. The mind, when disciplined, operates the same way. It does not fight reality. It moves with it, adapting, adjusting, always returning to its center. To cultivate inner peace, follow three key principles. First, develop the habit of mental stillness, whether through meditation, reflection, or simply learning to pause before reacting. The ability to step back before responding is a form of mastery. Second, let go of what is outside your control. Worrying about the uncontrollable is wasted energy. Focus only on what you can influence. Third, practice gratitude. Those who are at peace are not those who have everything, but those who recognize what they already have. Marcus Aurelius believed that strength comes from mastering the mind, not the world. Neuroscience proves that a still mind is a resilient mind. Lao Tzu showed that peace is not resistance, but flow. Their lesson is clear. Mental strength is not just about enduring hardship, it is about remaining calm within it. The strongest minds are not those who never face chaos, but those who remain steady in its presence. Growth does not happen by accident. The strongest minds are not those who blindly move forward, hoping to improve over time. They are the ones who stop, reflect, and refine their path. Without self-reflection, Progress is directionless. Without self-examination, mistakes are repeated. The mentally weak avoid looking inward because it is uncomfortable, because it forces them to confront their flaws. But those who are truly strong understand that self-reflection is not self-judgment, it is self-mastery. Socrates, one of history's greatest thinkers, believed that the unexamined life is not worth living. To him, life without reflection was life without growth. He did not believe in moving forward for the sake of movement. He believed in moving forward with purpose, with awareness, with a deep understanding of where one stood and where one needed to go. The mind that never questions itself is a mind that remains stagnant. Modern psychology proves this truth. Cognitive research shows that those who engage in self-reflection develop higher emotional intelligence, stronger problem-solving skills, and greater resilience. The brain, when trained to analyze its own patterns, becomes more adaptable. It learns from experience instead of repeating mistakes. It sharpens awareness, allowing a person to correct course before small errors become major failures. This is why the greatest leaders, thinkers, and creators all practice reflection, not as an occasional exercise, but as a daily habit. But self-reflection is not just about analyzing the past, it is about using that insight to shape the future. Leonardo da Vinci, known for his genius across multiple disciplines, kept notebooks filled with questions, observations, and insights. He did not simply record what he knew, he questioned everything, refining his thinking over time. He understood that mastery is built not just through learning, but through questioning, through refining, through the relentless pursuit of clarity. To develop the habit of self-reflection, apply 3 key principles. First, ask the right questions. Instead of just thinking about what happened, ask why it happened, what could have been done differently, and what lesson can be taken forward. Second, create space for reflection. This could be through journaling, long walks, or simply moments of quiet in a busy day. Growth requires pauses. Third, turn reflection into action. Insight alone is meaningless unless it leads to change. Every realization should be followed by a decision. What will be done differently next time? Socrates believed that a life without reflection is a life without wisdom. Psychology proves that the brain grows stronger through analysis and adjustment. Leonardo da Vinci showed that self-examination is the foundation of mastery. Their lesson is clear. Mental strength is not just about pushing forward, it is about stopping to think, about refining thought, about ensuring that every step taken is one of progress, not repetition. The strongest minds are not just those who act, but those who understand why they act. Make discipline a core part of your identity. When focus becomes who you are. True discipline is not about forcing yourself to do hard things. It is about becoming the kind of person who naturally does them. Many struggle with self-discipline because they view it as an external effort, something they must constantly push themselves to maintain. But the most successful individuals do not see discipline as a temporary tool. They see it as part of their core identity. When discipline stops being a decision and starts being who you are, consistency becomes effortless. Socrates, one of history's greatest thinkers, believed that the way to achieve greatness was not through occasional effort, but through becoming the kind of person who embodies excellence in everything they do. He argued that self-mastery was not about individual acts, but about transforming one's entire nature. The disciplined do not ask themselves, should I wake up early? Or should I stay focused? They simply do it, because that is who they are. Modern behavioral science confirms this. Identity-based habits, a concept explored in Atomic Habits by James Clear, suggests that the most effective way to sustain discipline is not to focus on outcomes, but on self-image. Instead of saying, "I need to work harder," say, "I am the kind of person who works hard." Instead of saying, "I should be more disciplined," say, "I am disciplined." Your actions will always align with the way you see yourself. But making discipline part of your identity requires one crucial shift. You must remove negotiation. The moment you allow yourself to debate whether to take action, you create resistance. The most disciplined individuals do not negotiate with themselves, they act. Bruce Lee embodied this philosophy. He did not train, study, and perfect his craft based on motivation. He did it because discipline was part of his identity. He removed choice from the equation. There was no alternative. To internalize discipline at an identity level, apply these principles. Reinforce identity through repetition. The more you act in alignment with your desired identity, the stronger it becomes. Every time you choose discipline, you prove to yourself who you are. Eliminate decision fatigue. Set clear routines and rules for yourself, so you never waste energy deciding what to do next. Adopt the "I don't miss twice" rule. Missing one day of discipline is human. Missing two is a choice. Never allow a single failure to become a new pattern. Ultimately, the most disciplined people do not see self-control as a struggle. They see it as who they are. Socrates taught that self-mastery is about transforming one's nature. James Clear proved that identity-based habits shape long-term discipline. Bruce Lee showed that eliminating negotiation removes resistance. Their lesson is clear. Discipline is not something you practice. It is something you become. When you no longer need to remind yourself to stay disciplined because it is simply part of your identity, you have reached a level of self-mastery that few ever attain. Strength is not something given, it is something earned. It is built in the quiet moments, in the choices no one sees, in the battles fought within the mind, long before they are ever reflected in action. The mentally weak wait for circumstances to change, for motivation to appear, for an easier path to reveal itself. But the mentally strong understand that the path is not given, it is created. Every challenge faced, every discipline reinforced, every setback reframed into an opportunity for growth is a step toward mastery. The greatest thinkers, warriors, and visionaries did not reach their heights by accident. Socrates sharpened his mind through relentless questioning. Marcus Aurelius remained steady in the face of chaos by training himself to master his own reactions. Musashi became an undefeated warrior not because he sought comfort, but because he chose discipline as his foundation. They all understood one thing: the mind must be trained just as rigorously as the body. Without control over thought, emotion, and action, there is no lasting strength. And so, the challenge remains. Will you shape your mind, or let it be shaped by circumstance? Will you act with intention, or let life pull you in every direction? Will you remain stuck in old patterns, or commit to becoming something greater? The choice is yours, and it is made not in a single moment, but in every moment. Because mental strength is not about what you hope for, it is about what you train for. And the strongest minds are not those who wait for change, but those who create it within themselves every single day.